When do you plan on retiring? A lot of people talk about building riches at an early age so that you can retire early and spend a lot of time on the beach and basically doing nothing. I see that as the recipe for disaster. Hi, my name is Jamila Idris and I help successful high achievers like you create a life of fulfillment and meaning by creating alignment, harmony, and deep connections. So, what is that age you have tagged as your retirement age? For people who are employees, depending on where you are at, there are different retirement ages where people are expected to stop working. But what happens when we stop working? Let's say you retire at the age of 60. Japan has the highest number of older citizens in the world. And when I saw that research, I was eager to read why they have this population. And it is owing to the fact that they never retire. So you would still see someone who is over 100 years old going about their regular businesses, going to the farm, going to their stalls to sell, to engage in buying and selling and other activities as required when they were younger. So why are we now talking about retiring at the age of 30? What will you be doing with your life? For a lot of people, I have seen a lot of people retire, and at that point where they retire is where they begin to experience a lot of terminal illnesses, because now they are not engaged, they are not working and putting their brain to work as much as possible. In fact, not just their brain, but doing things that interest them. There is a level of emotional stability you experience when you do something you enjoy, when you feel like you are impacting people or you are creating some type of change in the world, where you know that your impact is felt. So when you have a vision, this vision shouldn't be about you working to 70 or 60 and retiring. It should be for the rest of your life. Personally, I made a decision to live up to at least 100, and I'll share why I made this decision. So some years ago, I was working with a particular state government here in Nigeria, and there was a train incident where a lot of people were killed and kidnapped. And I felt very scared because it was like a lot of attacks happening consistently around that period. So fear began to creep in. And I began to ask the existential question of, is this all there is to life? People going about their regular activities, but then get cut short by one unfortunate event or the other. What is the point of working and ensuring that you are showing up every day for the things you do? So I had to talk to one of my therapists at that time, and we walked through that experience. And one of the exercises he recommended was for me to decide the number of years I would like to spend on earth. At first, I thought it was absurd, because I believe, we are not in control of the number of years we would spend on earth. And he made me understand why that is important, because again, if we have a good relationship with God and we're able to tell him what we want, of course, God is going to give that thing to us if we truly believe in him. So, hearing this, I decided to go to work to decide to come up with a number, with the magic number for myself. And I realized that I have an affinity for older people. I just like to see older people who are active and going about their regular activities. And that is when it hits me that on my father's side, my grandfather died when he was over 100 years old, about 130 thereabouts, and he was still active by the time he died. But on my mother's side, she didn't even meet her father, and her mother died when she was in her mid-20s. So I decided to align with my father's side of the family and tap into their longevity. And at the time, my father had an elder sister who was almost 100 years old. At this time, she is over 100 years old, who still cooks her food and takes care of herself. And he also had brothers who were older than him and were very okay. So I decided I was going to live long. And I was not just going to live long in a vegetative state, but I was going to be very active and go about my regular activities as much as possible. So retirement went out the window because I saw myself doing this same thing at the age of 100, talking to people, helping people engineer change, helping people achieve transformation, and being an advisor to high achievers like you and governments. And that was how I got to work. That simple decision changed the course of my life. From that decision, I began to take other decisions and actions that would help me live up to 100. This affected my diet because, again, I want to be very healthy at the age of 100. I was constantly eating foods that were nutritious and that will help me. I was in a stable health condition by the time I am 100. This also helped me lose over 10 kg and have kept it away for a number of years now, about 2 years now, and I haven't gotten that weight back. So when it comes to the quality of life you want to live, you need to make certain decisions on how long you want to live before you even make a decision whether you would want to retire or not. I see no reason why you want to live a long life but then you want to retire young. That is only going to shorten your life. Yes, you can sell your company and make a lot of money, but you can always start another company. You can always float another business as much as possible in a way that makes you feel like you are creating some impact. The moment we stop feeling like we are impacting the world, the moment we stop feeling like we are contributing to the growth of the world, what happens is that we begin to experience some decline, and I wouldn't want that for you. So pick that number that you would want to live up to and begin to work towards it. Do everything you can right now to ensure that you take care of yourself and you are in the best health conditions when you're in that age. What is it going to be like for you? And just toss that retirement thoughts away as much as possible, where you begin to think about retirement, and when you get to that age you are unable to function in a way or manner that you're supposed to function because you had already made a decision way ahead of time to retire at a particular age. One of the greatest fears of a lot of successful high achievers is losing relevance, is getting to that point where they are no longer important, where they are no longer as influential as they would want to be. And this is a contributing factor to people wanting to retire at a particular age, so they just go off the stage completely, and they can go into the woods or go and settle on a beach house and continue to live their life. If we are agreeing now that we are not going to retire early, there are a number of things we need to put into consideration to ensure that there are a lot of skills and talents that will be going out of market because they can be replaced by AI. So how are you going to ensure that you stay relevant despite this evolution? So here are 5 E's you can take advantage of to ensure that you continue to stay relevant in your industry for as long as you live. This has to do with your ability to adapt and learn as you go. Also, your openness to new ideas. So we know what happened when there was the internet revolution and technological revolution, where we started using a lot of technology devices like the computer, and you go to some government offices or even some organizations and they still choose to do things the analog way. What happened was that a lot of people started shifting to those who were doing it digitally, and this is one of the ways that people lose relevance. If you would want a situation where you become relevant for a long period of time, it is required that you continue to improve on yourself and you open yourself up to new ideas, new ways of being and doing things. Also, you are consistently learning, improving your industry knowledge, and getting a hang of the changing trends and how you can key into it. And then when you get all this information, you adapt it to your life, you adapt it to your business and the vision you are working to create at the end of the day. The second E is engage, and this has to do with your ability to participate in different activities as it relates to your industry or business or even the world as a whole. You will discover that there are some people who switch industries at some point of their career. You would find situations where somebody from the academia would go into politics, or somebody who has been a politician would decide to go into academia. This switch helps you to remain relevant as much as possible, and it helps you to build a network of new people who would expose you to new information and opportunities. And this is another thing to put into consideration: your ability to consistently build your network, meet people, and contribute immensely. Now, when you network, you are giving value. This will help other people open you up to opportunities as much as possible. So if you plan on staying here for a long time, I would recommend that you continuously and intentionally build your network as you go forward. Also, you should consider contributing to the body of work in your industry, through maybe a book, or building collaborations and partnerships from those networks that you create. This way you would continue to be relevant over a long period of time. The next E is evaluate, and this has to do with assessing your skills. Now, there are some skills that you have that may not be applicable in this time, or it can be applicable but you need to tweak it a little. Let's say, for instance, people who were typists at the time when we have typewriters, it becomes easy for them at least to adapt to the keyboard in the computers, which makes them relevant in this space. So with your skills, you need to be abreast with industry information and those changing trends, so that you are able to adapt your skills to the new problems and situations that come up in your industry, so that you are able to contribute immensely in solving those problems. Also, very important is for you to ask for feedback. While we can assess ourselves and decide and point out some things we need to do better, sometimes other people have a bird's eye view of some of our activities, and they're able to provide us with useful feedback that would guide us in our process of improvement and learning. The fourth E is experiment. This has to do with your ability to take calculated risk. So getting into another industry could be an experiment. It's a risk that you would want to take to ensure that you are relevant, as the case may be. So you need to be open to trying new things. If you're used to doing certain things in a particular way, it is important for you to try new things, so that from your solution, when you get experiences from your solution, you are able to use those solutions to help other people with similar problems, and then this ensures that you stay relevant. I like to say that my life is a huge experiment, because anything I learn, I implement it first in my life, and this is the process of building expertise. So if you want to build expertise in a particular field, or expand your expertise, you need to be ready to risk it. You need to be ready to try new things, throw yourself into the experiment of life, and from this learnings, you are able to repurpose your solution to solving other people's problems. This will help you remain relevant. The last E is educate. So let's use the 100-year-old Jamila as a case study. I'm already 100, and I have explored, I have experimented, as much as I can. I have evaluated myself. I have been, improving my skills and all of that. Now, what I get to do is to start sharing my experience. You don't even need to get to 100 before you begin to share your experience or share your knowledge with other people. The main thing is for you to be able to transfer your knowledge through sharing to other people. This would impact their lives, and when you are a catalyst for change and transformation in somebody's life, you would always be relevant in their lives. I remember I still talk about the coaches I had when I just started my journey of personal development and self-improvement, and how they were a catalyst to my growth. So even when these people grow, as long as you created a huge impact in their life, you would always be remembered. Secondly, is for you to mentor other people. You're not too young or too old to mentor. This is also another way of sharing your knowledge and skills or talent with the world. Getting young people who you take under your apprenticeship or mentorship, in the sense that you are teaching them beyond just the textbook knowledge, but you are exposing them to experiences and opportunities that would help them develop themselves and become catalysts for good and longevity, help them become a catalyst for good in the society. This is something you should also explore, or this is a consideration you should have when it comes to educating people. And the last point under this is creating assets. Now, no matter the age you're at, it is important that you're creating assets. And this could be books, courses, podcasts, and all of that. We are in the digital economy, and your ability to put out your knowledge in this very organized way is what I refer to as assets. So when I define assets as our ability to use our creativity and experiences to create products that are valuable to people, to create products that help people solve specific problems. So if you are solving a particular problem for anyone, it is important that you put it in an asset. This video you're watching is part of my digital assets, and I can decide to go on to create a book out of it, or create a course out of it at the end of the day. For you to ensure relevance, you need to explore creating assets that would outlive you. There are a lot of people who hear the "I have a dream" speech by Martin Luther King, and this was done in the, I think, 70s, if I'm not mistaken. This is someone, a lot of people listen to the "I have a dream" speech by Martin Luther King, and this man died in the 70s. In fact, when I was hearing it, I thought he was still alive. At the first time I heard this speech, I thought he was still alive, until I got to know that he died in the 70s. And it was a shock to me, knowing that he sounded like he was still here, even though he had been dead and gone for a very long time. So creating assets, putting together your intellectual property in a digital format, would help you stay relevant over a long period of time. Rather than thinking about retirement, I hope that you begin to look at how you can be relevant for as long as you live, and this may require you to continuously work or package your knowledge, skills, and experiences that you have acquired over the course of your work and your life into assets that will continue to help people even long after you're gone. We still hear tapes of Neville Goddard, Napoleon Hill, and all these thought leaders that had training programs. They wrote a lot of books during their times, and they are still very relevant up to today. I hope this is your cue to focus on relevance rather than retirement, and you do everything you can to ensure that you are creating a life of relevance. And if you continue to be relevant when you leave a legacy in the world, so be more legacy focused rather than retiring. I hope you found this useful. Do well to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you.